Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm sharing a cute cat themed card using some stamps from My Favorite Things. I'm making another tall card today. I've been on kind of a tall card kick lately, so I have a piece of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, which I've cut to 3.5 by 8.5. I'm going to be die cutting this panel, and in order to help me place my die so that it's nice and centered on the panel, I used my T-square ruler to help find the center of the panel, and then I drew a very light line down the center with a pencil. This die comes from the Fawn Magic Color Slider die set, and like with most dies, when you first get them, they're all attached and you have to take them apart using some wire snips. Because I had to detach this die, it has little notches along the edge of the oval, and they're right in the center. So in order to center them on the panel, all I have to do is line up those notches with the line that I drew. I cut out 3 ovals with the die, and I left a little bit of extra space between the bottom 2 ovals, and then I took my eraser and I erased any of my pencil marks that were still there. The stamp set that I'm using for this card is the Purr-fect stamp set from My Favorite Things, and I picked out a sentiment from that set and I stamped it onto the panel using VersaFine Onyx black ink. Next, I took the 3 cat images from that stamp set and I stamped them using my Misti Tool onto some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock using Gina Design's Jet Black Amalgam ink. I'm going to be coloring all of these cats using my Copic markers, and if you want to follow along with the colors that I'm using, I do have the marker caps off to the side so that you can see those colors. For this first cat, I wanted to have a white cat, but I didn't want to just not color him in at all because then he'd look pretty flat. So I'm adding some shading with a couple of gray markers. One of them is a warm gray, and I really like the look that that created. I also took my colorless blender and I just kind of colored along the edge of that gray to kind of fade it out and mix it into the white of the rest of the cat. For this next cat, I'm using 2 different warm gray colors, and I'm kind of going for a calico look with this one. I did something a little bit different with this cat. Instead of coloring with my normal brush strokes, I did a little bit of stippling to add some texture. And if you're unsure of what stippling is, it just means coloring with dots. I decided to leave the area around the mouth and along the belly white on this cat. All cats are different, so you can choose to leave the white wherever you want, or you could fill in the entire cat. Also, I decided to color in all of my cat's noses with this pink marker, but you could use a dark gray marker instead or a black marker. My cat that I have, her name is Bellatrix, and she's an all black cat, and she has a black nose. If you're ever coloring cats or even dogs and you're struggling to come up with how to color them, I would recommend just getting on Google and searching for cat images or dog images, and those can give you lots of ideas. You could even get on Pinterest and search for Copic coloring cats or Copic coloring dogs, and some really good ideas will pop up. For this last cat, I'm doing another calico cat, but instead of using the warm gray markers, I'm using the neutral gray markers. And I also changed the pattern of the cat and where that white is going to be. I do think that this cat would have looked good without the stripes as just a white and gray cat, but I don't think that the stripes make it look any worse. I think it's good either way. Something I did with both of my calico cats is I took my colorless blender and I colored along that line where the white fur ends and the gray fur begins, and that helps to kind of make that line a little bit more fuzzy and less of a harsh, hard line. Once that coloring was done, I ran those images through my scan and cut to cut them out, and then I moved on to creating some backgrounds for each of those cats. For the first background, I have a scrap piece of Simon Says Stamp Peacock cardstock, and over the top of that is the diagonal stripe stencil, which is also from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm blending on top of that with Gina Design's Blue Lagoon ink. For the second background, I have a piece of In the Navy cardstock from Gina Designs, and the stencil that I'm using is the Mini Staggered Circles stencil from My Favorite Things, and I'm blending over the top of that with In the Navy ink, which is also from Gina. The last background was made with a piece of green apple cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using that diagonal stripes stencil again, but this time I have it turned so that I have some horizontal stripes, and the ink that I'm using to blend with is Wild Dandelion ink from Gina K. When I first tried to do the blending on this one, I used a green ink and I did not like the way that it looked, so I ended up just flipping over the paper and blending on the other side. I added a bunch of foam tape to the back of the windowed panel that I created at the beginning of this video, and then I took each of my backgrounds and I covered up each of the 3 windows with one of those backgrounds. I used my ATG gun to add some adhesive to the backs of those backgrounds, and then I adhered this entire panel onto a card base, which is cut to be 9 by 4, and I made that card base out of Bristol Smooth paper because it was the only paper that I had that was big enough for this card. I used Gina K Designs Connect glue in order to adhere each of my 3 cats to the insides of the windows, and I used some tweezers in order to help me hold on to those. You'll see that I had to cut the back legs off of the 3rd cat so that it could fit properly into the window. You might have also noticed that I have some stamping on the backs of these cats, and that's just because I didn't like the first time I stamped them, so I just flipped over that paper and I stamped them again a second time. I used a white gel pen and I added some highlights to each of the 3 cats' noses, and then I took my Glossy Accents and I added that to all of the eyes. And with that, this card is all done. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this card design featuring that Purr-fect stamp set from My Favorite Things. All of the supplies that I used for today's card can be found in the description down below. If this is your first time on my channel and you enjoyed watching today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I do new card videos every single week, and I'm going to be back with another one really soon. Again, thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good day today.